Tree houses are the little people, aren't they? They're places of sanctuary and excitement, imagination, fun, escape. A place where you can leave the grown-up world down there. But imagine if you could make a place like this your home, complete with electricity and running water. That's exactly what one couple, who I met in 2013, had in mind.
Jon and Noreen's romantic plan was to build their own wooden house up in the trees.
Gives you that sort of peaceful woodland glade feeling. To live amongst this is a real privilege.
Such a remarkable setting called for a remarkable construction method, one where no tree roots were to be harmed in the process. Made more complicated by the house's anti-gravity design.
It's a series of 3-step boxes. Every box is slipped.
Yeah, structural engineers struggling with it at the moment.
They ran over schedule before they'd even broken ground.
This is not where we wanted to be, in any shape or form.
But there was no going back. Their life savings were invested in this dream.
We do not have any room for manoeuvre financially. We cannot get that money from anywhere else.
It tested them to physical and emotional extremes.
Yeah, it's not good, and I do worry.
Progress was slow, and rooms just remained unfinished.
Sometimes I think I've taken on too much. I could do with a breakdown.
Of course, construction in the canopy was never going to be that easy, because for all of nature's wonder and awe comes also unpredictability. So I'm very excited to go back after 7 years and see how their house is faring. But first, here's their story.
Once upon a time, the Earth was covered in trees. But we're losing our trees at the rate of 1 football pitch of natural forest every 2 seconds. We shouldn't be cutting down trees, we should be learning to live among them.
That's amazing! What a setting.
It is. It's absolutely beautiful.
I'm with plumber Jon and ceramic artist Noreen, a couple who want more than anything else to live up in the tree canopy. Before they start to build their own treehouse, we've come to Belgium to see a treehouse that might help me understand what's so special about woodland living.
Go on, touch it.
I can't touch it. No, you can almost touch it.
Yeah.
Look at that fantastic bar.
Look at that bar.
Oh, you're
And you've got the shadows
down.
dancing on the roof, and that branch just goes over the corner.
Really pretty, isn't it?
It is.
Gorgeous.
It's that
Absolutely
relationship.
gorgeous,
That's
yeah.
what we've got to try and achieve.
Here, you're up inside under the foliage in the canopy amongst the birds and the squirrels.
Yes, I think there is that connection
Yes,
when you
yes.
when you touch the bark, even at this distance.
What do you see when you touch the bark? What do you see when you look a bit further? And what do you see right in the distance? And I think on our plot, we've got those 3 things,
Yeah.
but we have to make it work.
Yeah.
If you're going to build a treehouse, the rules of engagement completely change.
What this simply is about is lifting you onto a platform in the trees.
And getting close to the trees.
Yeah.
Getting close to them,
Yeah.
Jon and Noreen dream of a treehouse for themselves just like this, and they're going to build one, but in a very different kind of location. Jon knew of a little patch of woodland in his hometown of Dursley in Gloucestershire, which is hemmed in by a supermarket car park and a Methodist chapel. When it came up for sale, he and Noreen were smitten.
You looked at it as a kid and loved it and peeped through a hole and thought, oh, that looks amazing.
Absolutely.
And it was completely overgrown, it was unloved.
Yep.
And the trees, we wanted to just take care of it.
This tiny, abandoned half-acre of urban woodland was once a garden. It's in a conservation area, and it has nearly 30 protected trees, some lovely ash and lime trees, and a majestic Scots pine.
And what is it for you that kind of connects you to trees? What is it that matters about being in amongst them?
I think it's just that the whole thing is it gives you that sort of peaceful woodland glade feeling. You step off the high street, you walk down
Sort of damp. You mean?
Indeed, damp, shaded when it's 30 degrees on a good British summer. But I'm sitting on a balcony, looking at the raindrops drop off the leaves. There's something special about that.
They were here before we were here. They're going to be here when we go, and you know that's brilliant to be part of that.
I mean, you can buy a new house, you can plant a tree, and it may get to a reasonable size by the time you move on. But I mean, to live amongst this is a real privilege.
How much to pay for it?
At the end of the day, it was £85,000.
That's all right, though, isn't
It is.
With no consent.
With no
no
consent.
consent,
It's either a very expensive garden
Yes.
or a very well-priced building.
Plot, yeah. But it had been up for sale for at least 18 months before we bought it.
So did you sound out the district council? Did you sound out the planning department and ask them what they felt?
Oh,
about
yes.
that?
Yes.
And you know what they said?
Feasibility? What did they say?
Absolutely no way.
And then you still went ahead and bought it?
We did. Our sense was if we could make something that was truly different, which added to the local community, that there would be a good chance. So it was basically on that basis that we pushed forward.
Jon and Noreen were proved right. They eventually got their planning permission, but the conditions are harsh. They must not disturb any of the trees or their roots. So fixing the house into the ground is going to be quite a challenge, one that local architects Miller Howard Workshop enthusiastically took on. To avoid the tangle of roots, they came up with the ingenious solution of anchoring the house with slender screw piles. To protect the trees, they won't be using any concrete. Instead of foundations, there'll be a steel frame above ground connected to the piles. The lowest and smallest of the 3 wooden boxes that make up the house will be Noreen's studio. The middle floor box will be the living space. It has verandas on 3 sides. And the top floor will contain the bedrooms, 40 feet up among the branches. It'll sit under a flat roof. The top 2 floors will be clad in native larch, and the basement will get a skin of reflective, polished steel that should mirror the surroundings and help the house appear to float. On the top floor, there'll be 3 ensuite guest bedrooms and the master suite. And in the spirit of a treehouse, a 12-foot-high narrow walkway through the trees will bring you to the front door and into the large L-shaped living space. Every window will be carefully placed to capture a favourite view, and the verandas will take Jon and Noreen within touching distance of the higher branches. Landscaping will be by Mother Nature herself, the point of this building being to place you in intimate contact with the rawness and energy of the natural world. Jon and Noreen met 24 years ago. They recently sold their big old drafty 5-bedroomed house, bought this plot and moved into an on-site cabin. Whiling away evenings in the cabin, Jon has lovingly built his own model of their house-to-be.
This is it. I love your trees.
Yeah, they're all to scale.
It's a series of 3-step boxes, and each layer doesn't conform. There are no contiguous walls all the way up, are there?
No.
Every box is slipped.
Yeah, and that's
So
what
that
the
they appear separate.
structural engineer is struggling with at the moment.
And who does this? Who builds this?
Well, I'll be helping, doing a lot of it. I'll be project managing it, or will be project managing it.
And how much is that then?
At this stage with the piling, if there aren't any unforeseen incidents when they're depth-wise, 268. At the moment.
I mean, that has gone up from 250.
What is that for everything?
Yeah.
268.
Yeah.
268,000, all in, done.
Yes, we have already been making cuts to hold it at that.
Can you afford that?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we that was part of our contingency in budget. It's just that we are, we really do not want a mortgage at the end of this.
How long will it take you to do?
I'm hoping about 9 months. That's what the target is. So as soon as the piles go in the ground, then we'll know.
9 months from the piles.
So when's that scheduled for then?
either side of this Christmas. And
Okay.
I think it was going to be before, but like all the things, I think we're looking at just after now.
Okay. So, just 9 months to build the home they want in the town they love. Jon was brought up here and is as deeply rooted as his trees.
Is this your school?
Yeah.
This
when I was-
Church of England school?
It is. When I was 5, 6, 7, that sort of age, used to go to that school.
I mean, I can understand by circumstance that you'd be born here and go to school here, but why stay?
Contentment or happiness is an internal thing. I think you can sort of wander around looking for it, but I think you can make that where you live. And I think trying to create a slightly better environment and improve where you live and do a bit for where you live, I think that gives you a certain sense of satisfaction. And it is beautiful.
This little patch of land has a lot to live up to. Invested here are the dreams of two passionate people.
In buying this site for £85,000, Jon and Noreen were making a decision purely from the heart. They'd been told they wouldn't get planning permission, and yet they carried on. They were determined that this was going to work. Amazing, isn't it? Jon grew up with this site. He knew that he was going to be able to live here. In a way, it was always his, this place.
Right from the start, however, Jon and Noreen meet trouble. They were hoping to sink their pile foundations around Christmas. They didn't. They can't do any construction until they have the structural engineering drawings for the whole house. All Jon and his old friend Stuart can do is prepare the ground by laying down a mat to protect the tree roots.
As you can see from this diagram done by the arboriculturalist, the Scots pine, for instance, closest to the cabin where we're living, the crown is that wide, but the tree roots area that you have to protect is sort of 1.5, twice as wide. So as the pathway, which is the top of the picture here, comes across, that entire area that will have vehicles going across it has to be protected so we don't damage the roots.
The difficulties of building on this plot shouldn't be underestimated. First of all, they can't use any concrete to form foundations. They have to avoid all the tree roots. And then there's the anti-gravity design of the house itself.
So, for time immemorial, really, people have built tall structures by doing this with bits of building, ziggurats and pyramids. It's very, very solid. It centres the building. It works with gravity. Whereas, of course, Jon and Noreen are doing something entirely different. They're doing the opposite of this. What they're doing is they are starting with Noreen's workshop at the bottom, and then there's an overhanging bit, right, like that, and then there's a top floor, which does that. I mean, they've got to try and keep this structure up in amongst the trees on pile foundations. It is a real caramel shortbread conundrum.
How on earth do you make sure the top floors are properly supported and connected to the piles below? Months go by, and Jon and Noreen still haven't got their structural drawings. The timber company who hired their structural engineer has pulled out, and now they're waiting for a second structural engineer to deliver.
Well, we've been waiting for these calculations over 8 months now. We've been promised them for over 2 months, and they've never arrived, so...
It's really frustrating because you're so keen to get on, and you're so keen, we desperately want to start.
It's not just the waiting, the costs are going up. Jon and Noreen's new structural engineer thinks they need to double the amount of steel to anchor the house into the ground.
It did get to the point 2 or 3 weeks ago, we actually thought, can we continue? If this is actually the costs that are coming in now, we actually thought, can we continue?
They may love them, but their trees seem to be biting back. To look at, you wouldn't know that Jon and Noreen's plot is bang in the centre of a town. Even so, they want to be as self-sufficient as possible. While waiting for their structural drawings to materialise, Jon has found his own water supply in the non-orthodox way.
You got
this source of yours, your borehole, you got that at the
Yep.
to the right depth in the right place.
Yep, I dowsed it, but I had another top water dowser check it just before I paid the money for the rig to come in, and it was spot on.
You do this quite a lot, don't you? Then you're an official dowser, as it were.
It's like playing basketball. You might not get every ball through the hoop, but you get better at it. The more you practice, the more you're in tune.
I want to have a go at finding the underground spring. First, purge your demons.
What we want to get you to do is programming the brain, connecting with the body, because it's the body's response. This
Because
is
the
just
whole point about dowsing is it's not this that's doing anything at all.
Absolutely. It's the body.
It's your body in your head, which
Yeah.
is detecting something.
And this is just an amplifier. Perhaps a little bit more upright. That's it, that's good. So just thinking about that underground stream.
Thinking about that underground stream.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to. Oh, if it's anywhere, it's right here.
I think that's about it, yeah.
Is that
Yeah, it's
that
curving
seriously-
round gently down towards there. Yeah,
seriously?
Exactly, yeah, spot on.
Look at you.
Natural.
No, 2 bits of wire. Look.
In the height of summer comes a breakthrough. It's taken 8 months to get here, but today they can sink the 16 screw piles that'll anchor their treehouse into the ground.
It's been a long old haul to get to this stage, so it's nice something starting.
The way these screw piles work is surprisingly simple.
They rely on a thread, just like these rely on a tiny, tiny thread in order to hold the house in place. Now, it's best demonstrated if I screw this into the wood, and if I then represent the forces of nature by tying sling to that. Okay. Right, John, when you're ready.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, great. Oh, flying. Hey, hang on. Hey.
Today was great. It's more than the foundations going. It's like literally putting your mark in the ground, connecting with it. I think we're on our way now.
But John's optimism is misplaced. A full 8 months since the piling, there is still little to see. Jon and Noreen have just endured their second winter here, waiting for the detailed structural drawings.
This is not where we wanted to be, in any shape or form.
They've never had a generous budget, a carefully balanced 268,000. So every estimate and every bill is a worry.
It's that continual haggling, that continual hassle. Not just haggling for the sake of it, just to stay exactly where you are, otherwise you're slipping backwards all the time. That's the real challenge. It's that continual, unrelenting pressure and trying to earn a living at the same time.
Just a few weeks later, at last, the steel frame is springing into life. Their third, and hopefully last, structural engineer has devised his own clever solution for keeping this top-heavy building stable and rooted.
So that's where we've introduced the diagonal bracing. And then the same on the other side, like that. So that gives you, that stops the whole thing from swaying.
And he's saving money.
This design has 10 tons of steel, compared with the previous design had 18 tons of steel. It will save, I think, around about £2,000 a ton. So that's, you know, £16,000.
And the steel frame is on its way to site, on a friend's tractor and trailer. The treehouse is, at last, growing.
And the frame thank goodness.
Oh, at last. So we're above the ground.
Right up against the tree, too.
Yeah. There's a small steel to come out yet on that side.
Good heavens.
Yeah.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
To be able to work within the trees, as you've done.
Yeah.
And there's more yet to come. There's quite a big pile of steel
Yeah,
over there.
we're coming right out to that pile there.
Oh, what, this one? Oh, this one here.
Even with the protective mat, a conventional crane would crush the tree roots. But an old school friend is helping John with his own state-of-the-art mini telehandler that he's designed himself, with intriguing triangular tracked wheels.
Everything that you see here has been lifted into place with this. And we've been working on this uneven slopes. You know, you have to be careful, but it's
In terms of getting a centre of balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It surprised us as to how stable and how little damage is done to the ground.
So is this a prototype?
It's the second one in the country.
There are two very, very important technical tools used to manoeuvre steel on site. One is a crane like this, and the other is a 5-metre length of string. They're both really important as each other.
This steel frame is doing what it should, bolting together as designed, until we get to a plate that has had to be offset to avoid a tree root, which means trying to fit a bent leg.
Very slightly once it's been tapped over. Right, towards you.
You could almost grind a couple of mil off this joint here.
But with a bit of elbow grease, power tools and careful manipulation, the cranked leg gets sorted. The steel frame at £15,000 is their biggest ticket item so far. Its complexity and delicacy has cost Jon and Noreen £14,000 in engineering fees alone. So far, with all the bills in, they've spent 1/3 of their modest £268,000 budget. The next challenge for their wallet will be the timber frame.
So, when it comes to the timber frame,
Yeah.
are you outsourcing that?
Well, after going here, there and everywhere, and the convoluted design journey we've been on with it, it's designed to be made on site. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to probably step into the breach. We do not have any room for manoeuvre financially. We cannot get that money from anywhere else for various reasons. That is it. It has to be built for that. We're not going to magic some money from somewhere. That is it.
This is a dangerous decision. The timber frame will be complicated. It's going to be over 12 metres up in the air, and Jon's a plumber, not a carpenter. But there is one secret weapon local boy Jon has up his sleeve.
If Jon hadn't been able to find his bespoke mini telehandler, of which there are only 2 in the country, then he'd have had to instead hire a much larger 6-wheeled crane that he'd have parked just there. Oh, no, he couldn't have done that because they couldn't have got onto site. There's no access. They'd have had to park an even bigger crane than that behind the Methodist chapel over there, or even over in the supermarket car park. And that's the point. You see, all the problems to do with this site are to do with access, slope, and the trees. And all the solutions are thanks to Jon having grown up in this area and knowing anybody who's anybody. Thank God for schoolmates.
"20 months in, Jon has turned into Tarzan. And with yet one more old school friend, Julian, he's building his frame from slices of tree up in the trees. They're now ready for the glulam beams, which will support the cantilevered top floor.
1, 2, 3.
But there's no crane here to help them. They cannot damage the tree roots.
25 kilos a man for lifting. This is 225 kilos. And there's, well, a couple of us lifting it.
I had Weetabix this morning.
Jon's been lucky to add another willing volunteer to his team for this heavy lifting. Another old friend, who's a yacht engineer, is taking his holiday here.
No, it's been very interesting. It's probably been actually one of the better holidays I've ever had, I think.
OK. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
40 feet high up in the canopy, John and friends are turning into heroes of the forest.
It's on my shoulder, I got it as well.
I got it, it's easy.
Only if there's a British standard milk crate. We need about another 20 mil to get in line here.
20 mil.
Down. Perfect.
Timber by timber, floor by floor, John, Julian, Noreen and friends put the house together. Summer turns to autumn. The weather takes a turn and the strain begins to show. It's taken nearly 2 years to get this far.
Sometimes I think I've taken on too much. I could do with a break now, but we've got to get it watertight, so those extra hours make the difference now.
John's dedication is amazing. He just keeps going. He just keeps going. I don't know how he does it sometimes.
Neither do I. This building is turning into a monster that threatens to devour them, and the consequences are plain to see.
It was almost shocking to hear Noreen talking about how this project has depleted them physically and emotionally. Buildings do that. They have a habit of draining every ounce of reserve out of you. And at the same time, they play this game. They can also inspire you. At this stage, this building is leading them on. It's giving them some hope. It's suggesting that actually things are going to be all right in the end. But they are absolutely on the knife edge here. You know, it's like playing with the building a game of daredevil.
With heroic persistence, working 7-day weeks, John hits a key target and the house is ready for the windows before the end of the year.
I got it. Okay. Yeah.
And with the windows in, John and Noreen now have a weatherproof shell to work in over the winter. For the first time, there are proper rooms to see.
So you'll walk in, there's an entrance hall, stairs up to the first floor, and then a door into the living area.
So one big sort of L-shaped
Exactly.
living room, kitchen, diner.
And the whole point of this house, being up in the trees, is at last revealed.
No, great view, great view.
And this balcony is genius.
Thank you.
Okay, well, it's moderately good genius. But the point about the balcony for me is that it's the moment at which the building stops being a house and becomes a treehouse, where all those childhood stories that involve trees suddenly come true.
And when you have this, either the early morning or the evening sun in particular, it lights up that hill and you get layers of a view. And that's a rare thing to get those. It's almost like one of those fake 3D pictures where you dunk, 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 dunk.
It's lovely.
This is brilliant. This is proper architecture, isn't it? Eh? You know? Joy.
Proper architecture doesn't come cheap.
So how are the finances?
They're not bad. I mean, they're only because I'm doing it myself with one other guy. We've just gone over the £200,000 mark to get to where we are, so...
We're being very careful, but we are just about on track.
So, to finish the house and keep within the £268,000 budget, John has been out on the scavenge.
My other great find, I was looking for this for ages. I wanted a sort of green to add to the greenery that's around it. This is green honed Cumbrian slate.
Ooh, beautiful.
So, yeah, it's magnificent. This is a real find.
Which looks like it's been laid somewhere before.
It has. It came from a Rolls-Royce garage.
Seriously?
It did.
Tell you what, if it's good enough for Rolls-Royce.
It's good enough for my treehouse.
Is this going in your sitting room? Is this going?
Yeah, this is going on in the basement and across the whole middle floor. Everywhere's covered in this.
Okay.
John seems at home on a building site. He is, after all, a plumber. But he has hidden depths. I'm going to drag him away from the site for a quick break. His aim is to do less plumbing and more painting in the future. I also paint, so I see a chance for a bit of a sketch-off.
I think of you as a sort of polymath, really. You're a plumber, heating engineer, builder engineer, artist, all these things. Which of them are you looking forward to enjoying, as it were, when you, do you know what I mean, when you...
Even, I think, building a house is a desire to create something. I think most people, whether it's decorating a room or painting a picture, there's a desire to create, and I just think that's why I'm building a house and that's why I paint, but it would be nice to not have the stress that goes with the building the house part.
During this drawn-out 2-year construction period, Noreen's been keeping the family finances afloat with her ceramics business, but she has found time to design tiles for their kitchen and bathroom.
I was standing washing up in the caravan, and I was surrounded by all these gorgeous native birds, just 2 feet in front of me. They were all over the place, just eating and flying about, and I thought, that's what I need to do. So I've started to go for the more native angle, and as soon as I did them, they started coming out the kiln fine. So I think that the kiln god spoke to me and said, this is what you need to do.
It's just as well Noreen is happy in her work. She's facing her 3rd winter working in the garage. February is devoted to cladding the building. The top 2 floors are being done in native larch, but they want to camouflage the lowest floor.
What it'll be like.
They're sampling some mirror-like stainless steel that they hope will suggest that the rest of the building is floating.
From back here, the one that is least brushed is that one.
That one, yeah.
You still get the reflection, a sort of milky reflection of the trees and bushes and the branches. But maybe that's just milky enough to tell a bird that it's...
Yeah, don't fly into it, Mr. Bird. Yeah.
A line of dead blackbirds, isn't it?
I know.
No.
Yeah.
Whereas this is much softer.
That's beautiful. It gives a lovely milky coating.
I think that's it.
It'd be very beautiful.
If Jon and Noreen want to avoid another winter in the caravan, they'll have to enlist the help of woodland sprites.
So when do you think you're going to get this all ready for final inspection?
Well, I've got various friends that should come and help. I've got the guy that I normally work with, and I've got another guy. So I'll have 4 of us on, plus a tiler.
Leading to the answer that it will be ready for inspection.
Summertime.
Sometime.
Summertime.
Even with Jon devoting every sinew of his being to this project inside and out, I still suspected that finishing within the next few months was going to be a close call. When I last visited in the summer of 2016, the thick foliage was hiding Jon and Noreen's house from the prying eyes of downtown shoppers. And from me, I had little idea what to expect.
This is like the ramp from E.T.'s spaceship.
Getting closer, though, I couldn't miss the strikingly bright larch cladding, which seemed a bit unsettled in its environment.
What's inside?
Come in and have a look.
Last time I was here, they had managed to complete the basics, but had barely moved in. The big open-plan space for everyday living seemed quite sparse. However, there were some bits that caught my eye.
I do like this. This is what? Is it recycled?
This is a Rocco out of an old science lab.
What, from a chemistry lab?
Yeah.
I recognise these.
Yeah.
What a lovely thing to be able to bring into a home, your own work.
The view from the kitchen window was superb.
That does not look like Gloucestershire, that does look like Belize.
It is a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I expect to see a macaque monkey running up that tree.
Grey
bough.
Downstairs, the mirror sheen of the stainless steel really did conjure the illusion of a floating building.
And this is your workshop?
Yes, that's going to be my lovely workshop and studio and kiln room, yeah.
But inside, they still had so much to do.
Not as finished.
Not as finished.
No.
Upstairs, they'd saved money by using old school gymnasium flooring.
You can't fake the finish,
No,
because this
that's
has
true.
been polished by generations of plimsolls and adolescent knees.
Yeah.
Hello, cat. You've taken it through the bedroom.
Jon and Noreen at last had their bedroom, and they could move out of the caravan, but there was still work to be done across all the floors.
So when we met for the first time 3 years ago, you said you wanted to spend £268,000 building this, and that was it. There was no more.
That was it.
That's right.
That was it.
Yes, yeah.
So how much? Have you added it up yet?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And it is?
We spent just over that. We spent about 270.
That's shocking.
But we haven't finished.
It's been really tough.
It has been tough.
really, really tough.
You just have to keep going.
All well and good, but they'd run out of money. So how on earth were they going to get the project finished? Quite some time has passed since my last visit, and I want to know if they managed to make it all work. This project, I felt, was always one that was running the gauntlet, you know? It was right out there. And that was despite Jon and Noreen's ambition and their clear talents, and despite all that help they had from within the community. And I say this because for me it was a project of paradoxes, of high tech and low impact, of high vision and at the same time low budget, of high-rise living and high ambition. The question is, after 7 years, have they managed to realise fully their dream of romantic sylvan treetop life? When I last visited Jon and Noreen in 2016, they had moved into the treehouse despite it being far from complete. I had to come back. Well, 7 years is a long time to wait, isn't it? Goodness me. And the trees seem to be looking really well. Don't know about Jon and Noreen, or even their house. Can't see it. Last time I was here, it didn't quite seem to fit. The new larch cladding shouted, "Look at me, I'm a big orange box on stilts." It's very different to how it was when I last saw it. It's silvered up. It's beautiful. The larch now perfectly matches the bark and branches of the trees that prosper around it. Finally, the house seems at peace, floating serenely, almost unnoticed. Hello, you two.
Hi, Kevin.
Nice to see you. Come on up.
I'll come up the spirally bit. I'll follow the cat. Come on, then.
Hello.
Kevin.
Hello.
Lovely to see you.
And you.
Hello, all right. Hi.
After all this
Oh,
time.
yes, I
How are you?
know.
Good to see you, Jon.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Good. You look both unchanged.
Well, thank you.
Well, after the trauma of building, you know, and
Yes.
and the house looks better for having silvered up
It does, yeah.
and disappeared. It's hard to tell sometimes whether you're looking at building cladding or looking at tree trunk. Do you know what I mean?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's settled in nice. It's shimmied into the landscape. I think.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
And this is, what is this?
This is larch
soft-
again.
Oh, this is larch.
This is
too.
all larch, the same timber horizontally, vertically.
The deck looks really inhabited now. There was nothing here before.
There was nothing. Yeah, I mean, that's actually sheep fencing. It does the job and was a cost-effective way of stopping us dying.
It's really nice. I like it. There's planting, there's and you, for that matter, you've also done the garden beautifully too.
Yes.
And the trees themselves, how are they doing?
Fabulous.
Yeah.
They've really, really held it well. They're looking magnificent.
We spend most of our summer out here when it's good weather.
It's
I
sort
do
of the
love
way
it.
to live, isn't
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
yeah. Breakfast on the balcony, lunch on the balcony,
Yeah.
dinner on the balcony. Yeah. So-
it? Great. How's the inside?
Looking good.
Oh, can I? Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
love to see it. Really would. Oh. It's glorious. The main living space is looking more inviting. Finally, fully finished and beautifully detailed.
It's worked really well. I think we're really pleased, aren't we?
And it's beautiful. And I'm guessing that some of these things are from previous home.
Yes,
Oh,
yes. I
yeah.
mean, we kept the things that fitted and worked the best, and we've just gradually built it up over the years.
This is reclaimed.
Cumbrian
Rolls-
green slate. It was from a Rolls-Royce garage.
Rolls-Royce taste, yeah? Reliant
But not the
Robin,
cost.
Reliant Robin budget.
Exactly.
not the cost. Our budget was always tight, so you just have to use your ingenuity and come up with ideas.
It's cool and it's cool. It's lovely inside. Got, of course, all that greenery to keep the sun out and keep it variegated. In winter, of course, leaves fall off the trees and you get direct sunshine in.
Exactly, yeah, sheds the leaves. So the trees are benefiting us, summer and winter, yeah. So, and the overhangs make such a difference because of, as you can see, the sun isn't actually entering the room at this time of year.
Yeah. And the kitchen is as beautiful as I remember it.
We added the island.
Yeah, that was a few offcuts we had left over.
And
You have the added benefit of this beautiful slot window. The view's slightly changed.
Just a little bit. In fairness, we did know what the planning was in when we bought this section of land. It is progress.
Oh, I like the fact that you come up into the light from the darker hallway.
Upstairs, the views are unspoiled. All 3 bedrooms are now finished and have bathrooms decorated with Noreen's tiles. And,
very nice,
there's a dedicated space for Jon's art.
To be able to look at that view and paint doesn't get much better.
Yeah, beautiful.
And I think having a dedicated space really does help, doesn't it?
It does. You're so much more productive. The building has enabled us to continue and hopefully improve.
In the silver box at the bottom of the house, the studio and kiln room are also finished. Noreen has a whole floor dedicated to her ceramic work.
Wow, this is lovely. It's like a watercolour almost, you know.
Thank you. The previous space wasn't quite conducive to creative inspiration.
To my surprise, out in the garden there's yet more living space. They've turned their old basic accommodation into a guest annex, somewhere complementary to the main house that can generate some rental income.
Do you know what? I mean, the timber's silvered, but the actual metalwork is still as pristine. I do like that, that stainless steel.
It has held up well.
I think it's great because it does contribute to the sense of the building floating, doesn't it?
And picks up the reflection of the trees, which is what it was designed to do.
There was always that concern about how well these trees would respond to the intervention of putting a house here.
Yes.
All the greenery appears to be fresh and lively.
Yeah.
The trees around it are thriving, unlike a lot of ash trees which are around, which are doing the opposite.
Yes.
I mean, we have had a little bit of ash die back. This one here, you can see, is dying back. We've had to take a little bit off that. This was another example which we just pollarded, and it's coming back to life.
We bought some special medicine for the trees to put on their roots.
This is important because what you're doing is treating your population as a sort of an experiment.
We're in the lucky position where we can give it a go, where we can try different approaches that might work.
So what have you planted here?
Lots of ferns, we've got some azaleas, nearly 100 yews, I think, and all the fruit trees.
And all the fruit trees.
Yes, yeah.
It's fair to say your approach is one of sort of woodland management rather than gardening?
Some people might say it's messy, but I think it's a case of a light touch.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to encourage biodiversity, you kind of have to let everything find their balance. We were both really passionate right from the start that we wanted to prove that we could build a house and actually increase the wildlife. And I'm pretty sure we've done that. I'm pretty confident we've done that. There's more wildlife here than when we came, and I think surely that can only be a good thing.
And all this transformation within half an acre of woodland. But at what financial cost?
So how much did you spend on it in the end then?
I think we started off with 268, and we'd got to 270 when we saw you last, but we hadn't finished. So
what are you in for now?
We're just over 300, literally just over.
£300,000 for how many square metres?
220.
Yeah. Wow. So that's like about 1,300 quid a square metre or something.
Yes, which is extremely good.
And do you have a mortgage?
No, luckily we don't.
You're very lucky.
That was the plan.
And that's why we kept cutting back. If something overran, we cut back on something else. Fairly firm criteria that we had to come out mortgage-free.
Yeah, so, I mean, the combination of your expediency, the desire to recycle and reinvent, and doing so much yourselves and with friends in the community where you've grown up, therefore that was possible. All these things point to massive savings. Congratulations, it's beautifully, seamlessly kind of integrated. You know, there's a sense that it's all meant to be here.
I mean, we're incredibly grateful, probably every day, and full of love for the area, the house, what it's given us, what we've hopefully given back.
We're unbelievably lucky.
Yeah.
The timing was key, and seizing the opportunity. I think I am glad we took the risk. It was a bit nerve-wracking, but it was a good risk.
And with the greatest risks come the greatest rewards. If they had not been willing to take chances on the unusual, they would be settling for the ordinary. This house is so far from that.
Well, I think we can agree this was an experimental project. I mean, would you go out and buy a piece of land without planning permission? Would you invest in experimental ground anchors with no concrete? No, I didn't think so either.
And yet for Jon and Noreen, it was their bread and butter to make these changes, to take these leaps of faith. And do you know the biggest experiment of all that's taken place over these last 7 years has happened out here? It's the experiment where they took the site, developed it, built on it, and in so doing did not trash the place, but instead enhanced the biodiversity. They built a dwelling for human species to live in, and in so doing, created an environment for many, many other species to thrive out here. How amazing is that? You know, when we build tree houses for children, we hope that they're somehow going to engage with nature, that they're going to become closer to their natural environment. Look what happens when grown-ups do that.
If you have ever built your own home, then you will know you have to marshal some really powerful human energies to do it. Your dreams, your aspirations, your concerns over whether or not you can afford the whole thing. And your ambitions aren't just restricted to what you feel and think, but to also those around you, to your loved ones, your family, because this is a journey you go on together to create something in which you will all, hopefully, thrive and flourish. And so it is crucial you find the right site, that you find the right place into which you can pour all your hopes. Is this it?
Yeah, that's it.
You're joking. Really? Near Hackney Downs in northeast London lives this seemingly archetypal family. Graeme and Mel, along with their girls, Isla and Indy. Yet this family has suffered more than its fair share of tragedy.
Both girls have lost a parent, so we are creating a brand new family from two families. It's an ongoing process that Graeme and I are going through, and the girls.
It's the hardest thing I've ever done. And it is totally unique to witness and to be part of. There are two families in one house.
Graeme's daughter, Isla, who's 15, lost her mum within weeks of Mel's 13-year-old daughter, Indy, losing her dad.
We try to address the past, of course. You can't just bury it and not address it. Like all the different traditions in each family, we're trying to keep them alive.
Mel's a graphic designer from Germany who's lived in London since 1996. She met Graeme, an architect, at a wedding a few years ago.
I was standing there asking my friend who this woman was in the red dress. Well, I made the move, so I guess, you know, we wouldn't be here without that.
Yeah, love at first sight.
Now exciting times beckon for this blended family. Not only are Graeme and Mel tying the knot in July 2022, Graeme's designed an entirely new home for them all.
I mean, I guess the house is symbolic. It represents an opportunity for us to make a statement about who we are as a family, that we love each other, that we're not going anywhere. And I'm doing this to create a safe place to land as a family and to build a future.
A new home is just perfect, neutral ground for everyone to buy into.
For Isla and Indy, the draw of a new home is a tad more pragmatic. They currently share a small bedroom in the family's rental.
Having our own rooms means that we now have privacy, and it's great.
At the moment, we have a curtain about this wide. It's a little bit see-through, so we'll have a wall now, which is great.
So where are the family pinning their hopes for the future? On this very tiny twin garage plot.
Let's see what's inside.
Oh my God.
With an area of just 6 by 7 metres, the garages are less than half the footprint of the average UK home.
It's hugely exciting, nerve-wracking. It's something that, you know, we've put all our savings into.
It is a total adventure.
I can't envisage it totally in my head. I know Graeme can, and I trust him that he can do it.
Well, I can't wait to find out how Graeme can magic space from almost nowhere and build a vibrant family home from this.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
So what have you bought? 2 garages?
Yep, 2 garages. It doesn't look much.
How big is the land altogether?
The land is about 66 square metres.
How much was 2 garages?
It was 275,000.
Yeah. A few years ago, you could buy a house for that.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me what you're going to build.
It's going to be a sculptural form, really. We wanted it to look amazing from all sides. And we're going to build a red house, which is crazy.
It's quite a statement, I guess.
This is a very polite London street with greenery and even white bunting. And you're building a red house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of accommodation, what are you going to get?
An easy description is it's an upside-down house. For example, you have living space on the top floor where all the light is and the connection to view, and so the bedrooms are in the basement. So it's kind of upside down. But we're a modern family, if you like, you know, and it's a very modern house, a shamelessly modern house. It works really hard to give us the kind of spaces that we will need as a family of 4.
So why do this now?
We met 5 years ago through fairly tragic circumstances. And from that base, we have kind of cemented our relationship. And it's been a kind of objective of ours to try to make a physical manifestation of that love together.
It will be a building for the future and shows our commitment to invest into this family, that new patchwork family.
Graeme's devised an ingenious design to maximise every inch of this garage plot, hemmed in on all 4 sides by a neighbouring garage, neighbours' gardens, a private road and the pavement. The first step will be to demolish the garages. Then, the entire plot, right up to the 4 boundaries, will be excavated down 4 metres in stages, strengthened as they go with steel-reinforced concrete walls half a metre thick, to magic 63 square metres of underground space. Above, they'll add a 2-storey, stick-built timber and steel frame with 2 roofs. The ground floor will wear a defensive skin of red bricks. All the other walls and roof will be clad in red composite panels, making an arresting statement on this old-fashioned Victorian street. Large, carefully sited windows will bring light right in, and light wells will ensure the basement below is bright. Inside, you'll find a generous hallway, off which will be Graeme and Mel's bedroom and bathroom. She's designing some geometric floor tiles to be handmade specially for this entire floor. A one-off steel staircase will lead down to the basement, where the all-important bedrooms for both girls will be, alongside a utility room. Up on the first floor, under a spacious double-vaulted ceiling, Graeme's laid out a sitting room that'll lead to a larger kitchen and dining room. The big windows carefully organise green views in 3 different directions. There's no room for a garden, but Graeme has cleverly integrated a private outdoor terrace to the rear instead. His design squeezes the absolute max from a tiny footprint, proper grown-up architecture on a pint-sized plot, which will likely add to the complexity and budget.
How much is it going to cost to build?
The project cost should be around about 450. We're hopeful that it's not going to be that much over 700 for the overall build plus land.
For your savings have
gone into
bought the site, basically, and you got a mortgage for this?
Yeah, the mortgage is for 450,000.
Okay, so that'll cover the project. Any contingency?
There is contingency in that, yeah. It's about 30,000 of contingency.
Okay, so it sounds to me like you've got to be really, really, really focused and really tight on the spend, haven't you?
We have to, because we don't have, you know, wealthy family and friends or backgrounds, and we have to bring this on target.
Providing that there aren't any delays, and when the delays happen, that's when the costs rise.
Yes.
you're not building it yourselves, as it were.
No, we have a main contractor to carry the heavy loads of building the basement.
Yes.
That's the most expensive part of the build.
Yeah.
Going into the ground, and they're managing that part of the job.
How long is it going to take?
We hope 12 months.
And then moving in the summer next year?
That's the plan, yeah.
I do totally trust him. I have to. We all do. He'll manage.
Well, the pressure's well and truly on. 450 grand is not a lot for a project this ambitious in London, with a stonking great basement dig.
The one word that springs to mind about this project is excitement. And I say that because this tiny house is going to represent so many big ideas condensed into one small space. So many poignant histories of this family who've come together in the middle of London on this miniature plot. I mean, in order to create this perfectly formed, beautiful house, they're going to have to set off a sort of tiny, controlled explosion.
Come the autumn, the main contractor sets about demolishing the garages by hand.
We want to see the site flat and everything gone so we can finally see where we're building our future home.
Seeing it gone is going to give us a much better understanding of what kind of size of house we're actually going to get.
Within a matter of hours, the garages are down. And within weeks, there's yet more good news.
Whoa, it's big.
Yeah, it gives it so much more space, doesn't it?
We have a garden.
Thanks to having bought a neighbouring garage for £15,000, Graeme and Mel have a little bit more space to play with.
How much more do we have now?
It's about 30 square metres more for the garden. That was such a huge impact. Just even light coming into the side of the house.
Yeah, we were going to literally look against the wall. So lucky.
Yeah, I know.
All in all, the land plus associated design changes will cost 35 grand more. Graeme and Mel's entire contingency, and some, so nothing can go wrong now.
I'm worried about it.
Yeah.
But it soon emerges there's a problem. The main contractor has pulled the plug on building the basement for the 150 grand Graeme and Mel budgeted.
We've had a main contractor who doesn't want to do the basement now because of fluctuating costs globally. And we've got a finite amount of money that we need to spend, and that's what it needs to cost.
The delay is nerve-wracking for sure. It's just worrying because we're already paying the mortgage. The nervousness in the house is increasing, the tension.
Come spring, they have their new contractor for the basement.
Should we get the breaker on these bits of concrete first?
Only now it's costing 170,000, 20 grand more than budgeted, which will have to be funded by borrowing even more from the bank. And to avoid costs spiralling further, Graeme and Mel are going to have to project manage the build instead of using a main contractor.
Now we're on site and we've got a team that we're really pleased with. They've got a 12-week programme and it's going to fly by, which is really super exciting. The important thing is that we don't find anything grisly under there,
Yes.
like pipe work, but it seems they're cracking through it.
Graeme really shouldn't have said that.
Well, that's not on the drawings. Drains, which isn't supposed to be there. It's coming from that property.
If this is a live sewage pipe, it could take months of red tape and delays to move it.
Oh, shit.
In Hackney, the basement excavation has stopped, thanks to that unexpected soil pipe that's been unearthed.
What we do? We cut just a little bit here.
The mighty angle grinder will determine whether it's still in use.
Oh
No, it's full is concrete. That.
Mercifully, it's not, so it's back to work. 2 weeks into the 12-week basement dig, right on schedule, sheets of plywood formwork are installed in anticipation of the first concrete pour.
Hi there.
Hey,
How are you?
Kevin, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you, yeah. So it's a big square hole with a big square lump in it?
Yeah, it is.
With the intention, presumably, to excavate this eventually?
Yeah.
9 months ago when we met, you were expecting to spend how much?
Between 400 and 450.
Okay, and in your darkest moments now?
If we can get it in under 500, I think we'll probably be succeeding. It's a bit of a jump.
Yeah, and if it went north of that?
We'd have to rethink about how to complete the project. Yeah, so it doesn't leave as much variability in the second phase of the project, if any.
Yeah. Focuses the mind.
But come the first week in July, by which time all the basement should have been formed, only about half has been excavated.
My expectations were that we would be further along than what we are. I'm somewhat disappointed. Supply chain issues, most of all, conditions of the site. We've used up every piece of space we have up there. We don't have a facility for a skip. We have muck away from this excavation. This is a major challenge for us because we just can't get rid of it quick enough. Yeah, so there's just no space whatsoever. Yeah, I do sympathise with the guys because it's not a nice environment to work in. And they're going to cost us.
They're 8 months into this 12-month project, and the basement should be done by now. Instead, Graeme and Mel face the stresses of delay, while they also gear up for a huge and usually joyful life event.
Well, flowers I'll get from the local people.
Keep it simple.
Their wedding in France in a few weeks' time.
We've got the celebrant sorted. She's finished. We have to write our vows.
Vows and everything. They're going to be doing ground floor slab right when we're away. The basement box will be done. And on reflections, that's not great planning. But we put our wedding off for 2 years because of COVID, and we just thought, let's just do it. And that creates its own heightened stress environment in the house.
It's just a bit mad, and we kind of regretting it a little bit. The worry is, of course, that the fun time will be infringed by the build worries and the stresses that we just simply can't stop.
But within days, the strains and stresses of home feel far away. The unification of this patchwork family celebrated through Graeme and Mel's union. When they get back, they discover the basement is still nowhere near complete. It's now 5 months since excavation began.
Repercussions for us are huge. We're paying rent in our property. We're also paying the mortgage on the amount we've drawn down to pay for the build. The interest rates on that are going up. It's not a fixed rate, and that's causing us a lot of worry.
We are just really quite stunned about the lack of progress. Totally. It's just so grinding us down. I'm worried about Graeme. I'm worried about his well-being. He's working way too hard. We are definitely running out of steam. This whole thing could just collapse, really.
Mel's nervousness is understandable. Cautionary tales of domestic digging are common. Yet few are more dramatic than the story of this Hackney home, a stone's throw from Graeme and Mel's. Over a 40-year span, its then owner, William Little, an engineer, inexplicably dug a warren of enormous tunnels underneath it. He became known simply as the Mole Man. By the early 2000s, it was at risk of collapse, so Hackney Council pumped industrial quantities of aerated concrete into the tunnels to try and keep the house standing. These days, however, it is blessed with a remarkable new life thanks to the architect's Adjay Associates and its current owner, Sue Webster, the renowned artist.
Here's the house. Here's the living room.
It's very beautiful.
It was in a state of probate when I found it.
Right.
Nobody knew how to take it on. My builders said it was cheaper to demolish it and build it again. And I was like, no, you're missing the point.
Sue's inspired approach was to preserve and celebrate the Mole Man's extraordinary story. But by far the most ambitious challenge was turning the warren of the Mole Man's tunnels into a basement to house Sue's studio.
We had to remove 2,000 tons of aerated concrete, which took between 250 and 300 skip loads. So if you think about how much money one of them giant skips is, and we were just replacing one every day. We went through about, 300 skips.
Constructing the basement alone took around a year. But by golly, was it worth it?
Yeah, wow. At the time, how often did you find yourself staring into the hole in the ground, thinking
Looking at that pit of despair, I was lucky in the sense that I didn't really worry about money. I just didn't. And it's the thing of also possibly being born without fear. Because I just go, well, just throw yourself towards danger and see what happens.
Yeah. Weigh up the odds and then do it anyway.
That's living.
Going down with a building offers such exciting opportunities, doesn't it? You know, the potential to kind of rewrite the language, to mix architecture and archaeology, to create a brand new private space. It's exactly what Mel and Graeme want to do. You just need deep pockets to dig a deep hole. You need cojones. You need to be born without fear.
I'm not sure Graeme and Mel feel fearless right now. The concrete shell of the basement may finally be complete.
Let's have a look.
But what are Isla and Indy going to make of their basement bedrooms?
Do you feel it's really deep?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is really deep. It looks like a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
It's a hole in the ground where we will be living, and that's about it. Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
Down into the hole. It's taking a while, about 4 or 5 months to dig a hole in the ground. We will never see daylight again. Come on, guys.
So it looks bigger or smaller when you're down here?
It looks smaller when you're down here.
And making daylight work really well down here is going to be the biggest challenge.
You're thinking of having windows above to get the daylight into your rooms.
You can look down from above.
What, so like windows out on the street?
No.
We've waited so long for this.
I mean, we always joked about how like, once we move in, I'll be moving out. But like, I don't think it's a joke anymore. It's been pushed back so many times that we have like literally no idea when it'd be finished. But yeah.
I think we're finished.
3 weeks later, the pouring of the ground floor slab marks the end to the groundworks phase.
Today's pretty momentous. We started work on the basement on the 21st of March this year. It's now the 24th of November. That's a huge amount of time to be messing around in the ground.
But yeah, I'm so happy that this stage has reached. And now we know it's gonna all happen really fast.
As indeed it does. At the start of December, the team who'll assemble the timber frame arrive on site. The timber, along with a steel structure that'll help brace the house's open plan layout, will cost £30,000. And after just 2 days, the entire ground floor timber structure's installed, followed shortly after by the 6 steels supporting the first floor.
What I really hope to be by Christmas is full timber frame in, membrane on the outside, so it's a watertight shell.
But come the new year, work grinds to a halt. There's a problem with the welding on the installed steel beams.
The absolute worst case scenario is that 1 or 2 of the steels need to be replaced, which, given where we are and where everything's loaded up to is difficult.
But it turns out more than 2 need to be removed and replaced by a team who weren't responsible for the problem.
We are changing this 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, as you can see, the job is quite hard and difficult. Big job. But it's hard for us to try to lift these heavy steels, as you can see.
This project should have been finished 2 months ago. This really is the last thing Graeme and Mel need.
You can get so stressed about delay, and you can get so stressed about the impact. You know, we've got a scaffold we're paying by the week, we've got a site facilities hut we're paying by the week, we've got a rental property we're paying by the month. Everything that pushes the end date back costs us money. And that's, if you think about that every day, we never do this kind of thing.
I do not envy Graeme and Mel right now. In Hackney, they've replaced the ground floor steel beams and the timber installers can crack on and get the 2-storey structure and the roof of Graeme and Mel's home built. 2 months after they started.
In the grand scheme of things, we planned 7 days. I was hoping it would be finished a long time ago, so I just want to get it done. We're near the end now.
Positivity at last, even if they are 3 months over schedule.
The angle around the post.
And time for a topping out ceremony, or as the Germans call it, a Richtsfest.
Vielen Dank und frohes Richtfest.
Frohes Richtfest.
Cheers, guys. To the carpenters.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Not a bad drop.
Oh, lovely. There is an actual structure to enter now.
Coming through the window.
Which has led Graeme and Mel to completely rethink the layout of their living space. Of course it has.
So the original plan was to have the living room here as you come up from the stairs and you have this beautiful view out.
Yeah.
And we realized this can't be the living room, this has to be the kitchen.
So, the swapping, yeah?
Yeah.
Just like that?
Just like that.
Any other changes?
Well, yes. The kids have been lobbying for a mezzanine space. The fact that they're in the basement has raised a few eyebrows from their perspective. I think the trade-off is that they're going to have a little deck that they can hang in and maybe a roof light on top.
Nice.
We have them always in our minds when we make those changes. The design would be totally different if we weren't a blended family, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every detail of this house is being scrutinized by Graeme and Mel to ensure it works for the whole family, including the size and shape of all the windows, which arrive within days. Graeme can't quite believe the sudden progress.
Just had this freshen of excitement just go through me, which is really nice.
By mid-morning, the slim framed windows, all £32,000 worth, are ready to be installed.
It's the first one and it's in. I can't believe it. It really makes such a difference to have glass there. It feels so good.
Graham's considered the exact size and position of every window. And by the end of the day, their planning and focus has clearly paid off.
We really deserve now that things are going well for a change.
There's a good energy behind the project now. It's long overdue. They've got some good luck.
But their luck seems short-lived. Because their overall schedule has snowballed from 12 to 18 months, their neighbours have given Graeme and Mel a 4-week deadline to remove their scaffolding from the surrounding gardens. They have a month to fit all their cladding.
We're being put under a bit of pressure through the use of licence agreements, and we're feeling the need and the urgency to get our project accelerating.
If they miss the deadline, it'll cost them £1,000 a week, so they reluctantly abandon the planned brick facade on the ground floor in favour of a faster coloured render.
Which will help with our budget, which we're also having to watch. But it's a difficult decision. And it is pressure because money is involved.
But The rest of the walls and the roof have to be clad in red-tinted exterior-grade cement particle boards. Sustainable, but painstaking to machine and fit. First, Graeme and Mel have to sand and then seal every panel to enrich the colour. Then, the installation team have to trim each piece down to size, drill holes for the mounting, paint each aluminium mounting rail so it won't be seen, space each panel exactly 10 millimetres from the adjacent ones, and secure. They need over 500 individually prepared panels to clad this building. Inevitably, with only 3 days until the scaffolding needs to come down, there are still large areas left to clad. On the roof and the all-important street-facing elevation.
You have to be precise, you have to look at the gaps, you have to look at the lines, at the levels. You have to check all the alignments and everything, make sure everything lines up and it looks pretty.
Yeah.
The pressure is getting to Mel.
They need to be done too. There's 3 there.
It's back-breaking work, actually. I always have a bad back now. We really had never considered being this hands-on.
They're all going up.
Every weekend, we've been here now for 3 weeks, and every day after work. It just feels like, still, like you open a box and 10 more boxes are there. So that doesn't stop.
Yet, miraculously, come the deadline at the end of May, they're finished. The scaffolding is gone, and the result is quite a statement. By midsummer, the interior fit-out is properly underway. Mineral wool insulation and plasterboard are going in. Electrical cables are being routed. And at a metal workshop 4 miles away, steel stairs designed by Graeme are being fabricated. But Graeme and Mel are 2,000 miles away, in Marrakesh.
We got engaged here in January 2020. So that's what binds us forever to Marrakesh. And the feeling comes back. We're feeling really happy.
Their engagement in Morocco inspired Mel to design a series of tiles for the ground floor, which are now being fabricated here.
So they're starting, and we're hoping to see the whole process.
Melanie's interest in pattern and colour was really something we wanted to introduce or infuse into the design of the house.
I think we'll walk across the tiles all the time thinking of Marrakesh, which is nice. Here it is. Hello.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Nice.
Ahmed's family have been producing cement tiles here for 35 years.
This is our factory,
yeah.
Our workshop.
It's nice and cool here. Bonjour. This is incredible.
Oh.
It's like magic, magic.
Mel's geometric designs have been replicated in these metal tile moulds, which are filled with mixtures of ground marble, cement and coloured pigment. Covered and then pressed. They're left to dry for several days.
This is it. I mean, the colour is just absolutely gorgeous.
With 4 separate designs to play with, the tiles can be arranged to form different patterns.
It is like a jigsaw. It's perfect. I know we are now in Morocco, but it will be working in Hackney. I'm totally positive.
Their cost, including shipping, is comparable to buying off-the-shelf tiles in the UK. Not that getting them from here to Hackney will be straightforward, not by any means.
They get shipped to Casablanca by road, and then in Casablanca they have to wait until there's a container load full to ship to Felixstowe, and that can take up to 4 to 6 weeks.
The lengths Graeme and Mel will go to create a special autobiographical home are astonishing. But in London, tests on the basement have revealed issues about the quantity of cement in the concrete that could affect its longevity.
I'm just trying not to be too down about it, but I'm really distraught over this. Melanie and I are really distraught.
The ceiling obviously didn't plan out to be so pretty, so we cannot leave the concrete.
No, we
exposed.
originally thought that we were going to expose the concrete.
I am hugely disappointed. I am worried and also quite annoyed that this is happening to us.
When Graeme, Mel and the girls will move into their new home, I have no idea. There is a deal of uncertainty about the basement of Graeme and Mel's new home near Hackney Downs, so I don't quite know what to expect. It's been over 2 years since I first met them. And yet... well, you see, in a street which is so polite, full of white-painted brick houses, classically arranged here and decorated with Norman, early English details, you know, there is a building which is actually medieval in inspiration and yet classically organized. It is exquisite. Just great. Such energy. Well, they said right at the beginning they wanted to make a statement in this street, and they've made one. Big pink one. It's good pink, though, isn't it? It is beautifully finished. So all these gaps have been spaced. All the rivets have been match painted in to the colour of the boards. Why do anything that's easy when you can make it hard for yourself? Definition of craftsmanship. Hey!
Hey!
How are you? I'm admiring your building. Very good to see you.
Hello.
How are you? After all this time.
How are
Yeah,
you?
good to see you, Graeme. Congratulations. The house looks terrific.
It does, thank you.
You know, you see some houses which are squeezed into gaps, particularly in London, you know, and you think, oh, that looks so painful. You know, it looks like it's really been squashed in. But this breathes. It feels far more generous than the garages looked.
I know, we stood in the garages and thought, what the hell have we just done?
Yeah.
How can we build a house, for sure? But we maxed it out completely.
The cladding above sort of carries the character of a slightly distressed ancient structures. It's like looking at a palazzo wall from an Italian city that's been sliced up and brought here and kind of rearranged.
Yeah.
You know? You could have been much simpler about this. You could have just made a box.
Might have been a bit quicker, but there were challenges, and you know, I think what we've come out with is quite an experimental form. It's recognisable. It's definitely domestic in its the language it uses.
Yeah, and I'd love to see inside.
Let's go and see it.
What an exquisite, romantic building this is. Goodness me, it's ready to receive furniture, almost. But inside, it's not quite ready to move into yet. The interior is not as advanced as the outside. However, the elephant in the house is hidden beneath a temporary lid. It is the basement. The plywood floor covering the void below.
The void.
Do we talk about the void?
You can talk about the void.
What's the deal?
Well, we're hopeful there's a solution. It does create a slightly smaller footprint down there because we're having to add an additional layer on the inside of the concrete walls.
Effectively to form a tanking system.
It's a tanking system. So essentially got a two-storey house now, ostensibly, and we will expand into the third floor as and when that space becomes available.
But can you live in this building and work on that?
We can live in this building and work on that. We have a bedroom down here. We've created a mezzanine platform on the first floor that allows one of our daughters to sleep there, and the other one will probably camp in the living room for the time being.
Okay. Not ideal living arrangements for now, but what a breathtaking home this is going to be, even without the balustrade. The steel stairs. The staircase looks like it's floating. That's just so elegant. And some of Mel's tiles have already been laid in the bedroom. Oh, here it is, on the floor. Love that.
Do you like it?
I mean, I really like that. It's like Sonia Delaunay.
Yes.
You know, it's beautiful. I just can't get over the fact, however, that you've had these made in Morocco. You've gone there, you've designed it, because there aren't enough tiles in the UK. I mean, what's that about? There are 8 million different patterns available, and you've had to go and do your own.
We realized we really wanted to link it to our family history, which is Morocco. It was a gamble, but we pulled it off, and it's just magic.
Of course, there are weeks and months of graft ahead to complete the autobiography of this blended family home and its garden. So what are the living quarters upstairs like? Up the steel hill. It's good.
Up we go.
It's just wide enough, isn't it? It's perfect. Beautiful. Oh, this is good. Beautiful.
The kitchen.
Really good. The stainless is lovely, and there's red. Of course there's red. It's all very, very sleek.
Yeah, I think so. I think the addition of the mezzanine as well, because the space is so voluminous up here, having this lowered area over the kitchen brings a certain coziness to it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Wow, exquisite. By contrast, the adjoining dining and living space stretches right up to the vaulted ceiling. It's spacious. I mean, it's generous, but of course hugely tall as well, like being in a little chapel.
Yeah, I think the size of the plot meant that we needed to go a little bit higher in the space because just gives us a bit more forgiving to a tighter room size. I really like it when buildings have windows that don't tell you what's happening behind it.
Well, presumably very few people can even see that window because it's facing down the gardens.
No one can see in through it, which is amazing.
This, on the other hand, this is a completely candid window. This looks right down the street so you can wave to everybody walking by.
Yeah.
In your pajamas. And this one, again, I mean, it's essentially what you see is sky.
Yeah.
Must be very satisfying. It must be lovely to kind of, get this far.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really overwhelming. We've come a long way, a long, long way.
But how are the girls going to be living here for the time being without bedrooms in the basement ready to move into?
Indy's going to be sleeping up here.
Well, I was going to say, who's bagged it? Indy, you bagged it?
Indy's pretty much bagged it.
On what grounds? How come?
No grounds, just
no grounds.
No seniority, no kind of, no. So where you go? What's the plan for you then? Are you going to be allowed to live
I
here
go
as well?
where the wind takes me, you know. I think I'm going to be sleeping in the living room. I actually don't know. We'll see what happens.
Graeme and Mel, between them, have kind of fixated, it's fair to say, on this house. Is all this worth it?
Yeah,
definitely.
For sure.
I love this house. I didn't think it would look like this. It's very cozy.
Tell me, has it put you off? I mean, would you ever do such a thing? Would you ever? No, you wouldn't.
It's just so draining, even just watching it happen. So many conversations. I don't think we've ever talked about anything that wasn't the house.
Yeah, it is actually going to be one weird thing about it is the fact that there's not this thing going on anymore.
But there remains the basement to sort out. Graeme believes he has a solution, but negotiations with the basement contractor are still ongoing.
At the moment, we can afford to finish our project, but not to pay for the remedial costs of the basement. It's a question mark as to how we fund that right now. We don't honestly have the answer to that.
And what is the worst case?
I mean, the worst case for us is going to be not being able to afford to fund the remediation, and the net effect of that will be we'll have to sell it.
So there's a question mark hanging over you. Starting out, you thought you'd spend 450 grand, say. So where did you land, do you think?
I think we're going to land holistically around about 550 in terms of our borrowing. And we've had to ask family and friends for contributions as well, but it's so close.
And your relationship with the building as a result is weaker, stronger, more tetchy, more complex?
Now, I'm totally in love with this building, and we are one with this building now.
What happens if you have to sell? Will you be heartbroken?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I really want to see this space inhabited by us as family, leaving our marks in here and making history in here together, for sure, for the project to be complete.
Graeme wanted this house to be a manifestation of love, and it is all heart. So let us hope this family overcome this next hurdle. Well, no pain, no gain is the motto of this project. But then you see, if you're thinking that they've had a difficult time building it, well, goodness me, it is as nothing compared to the pain that this entire household have suffered on the way getting here through bereavement and loss. Somewhat puts the difficulties of building a house in proportion, doesn't it? Oh, and if you're also wondering whether or not this building delivers against the objectives they set for it, whether or not it's helping this family thrive and flourish, whether it can make them happier, then let me tell you, yes, it can. It's already started. What a delightful little woodland world.
Trying to build something modest, but also exquisite.
Yeah, a jewel.
Oh, shit! It might all explode while you're down there. It's going!
Oh, yes. I declare the South Herefordshire Railway open.
They're going to snap, Rob. Timescale has slipped by a year or two, I'd say.
That's quite significant, isn't it?
Yes.